Okay. Basing on the excerpt that you have just read, no, I guess you already have an idea of this question, no? Because based on the piece that you managed to read, no, I think that it mostly talked about what? Language. And it fundamentally addresses the uses and usefulness of language, di ba? And how we use language on a day-to-day basis, and how we use language on an extensive basis, no, or the very broad part of the usage of language. Based on the excerpt, one can use language simply or basically, and one can use language on the broad sense. Now, this has something to do with your mastery of the said language. Again, we do not only focus on one language or the English language alone, but rather we focus on learning or appreciating, at least, no, in the very sense, or the very least, I mean, we focus on appreciating the functions of all languages. Language as a concept, as a whole, yun ang atong i-grasp din not just the English language. Yes, you are English majors. You are all English majors, in fact. And that means to say that you must master, your English forte, but also to give appreciation to other languages. Now, what is language actually? The one that I am using now is language, specifically the English language. I am using it to be understood by all of you, no? The moment that I am speaking here and I am utilizing my speech, I am using the vocal symbols and I am using the grammatical features correctly, no? So that as much as possible, so that you can understand what I'm saying and you can receive the very message that I try to convey. Teaching linguistics is like teaching other disciplines, but this time we are concerning about language, of course. That's why I let you read the excerpt for you to have a background knowledge and for you to be ready on what is it that we are going to talk about most frequently. Okay? It is not for you to be pedagogically shocked. It's not for you. It's for you to be ready, no, mentally and emotionally for the things that you are going to learn, which is all about language. As you can see in the illustration, it is the picture that dictates all other languages existing in this world. Not only language, di ba? Na-notice ninyo? What other languages? The world itself is composed of many languages, no? But English is the widely known and spoken language, no? Second is Mandarin currently, and that's why it is an edge for you as an English major to understand the words well, the phrase effectively, and to compose a paragraph or to construct any composition efficiently, because that's the most expected part sa inyo as English students. Now, what is exactly is language? Those are the things nga inyong nabasa sa excerpt. Correct? But there are other opinions from other scholars pod nga we should also give appreciation to. For example, according to Henry Sweet, language is the expression of ideas. Basically, it's what I am talking about, no? Since I am starting the speech. Language is the expression of ideas by means of speech sounds, of course, combined into words. Words are combined into sentences, and this combination answering to that of ideas into thoughts. Meaning to say, all of us here can express his or her ideas. It's either your feelings, you are expressing, we are using language, no? Every day in our life to express something and to understand something. Vice versa. But here, according to Henry Sweet, we can form an idea through the very fundamental part first, which is the means of speech sounds combined into words. The speech sounds combined into words will be later on transformed into sentences, di ba? You cannot form any sentence, of course. You cannot form any sentence without the combinations of those words. Agree?
Yes.
Di ba? Dili maka-form ng sentence. You can't even form a phrase without a word. You can't even form a clause without a word. Therefore, you can't, and most importantly, you cannot form a composition without words. And words exist not just in English language, as I said. Words exist in different kinds of languages. It varies from language to language, and the point here is to know that you need to start in a basic sense before you can actually produce something else. Just like a thought or an idea. That's according to Henry Sweet. Nasabtan si Uncle Henry. Okay, very good. Second opinion, or second quotation right here. A language is a system of arbitrary vocal symbols by means of which a social group cooperates. Therefore, language is useful not just for individual purposes, but also for social cooperative purposes. Meaning to say, we need language to form connections to other people and to have connections to other people. Not just to socialize, but mainly to produce relationships and to strengthen relationship. No? We cannot live alone. Therefore, according to Bernard Bloch and George L. Traeger, we need language, and we must use language cooperatively because it is a system of arbitrary rules or vocal symbols, meaning to say those things I am saying right now requires or entails rather vocal symbols, or it has symbols nga inyong masabtan para mo maka-express back and forth. Okay? Language is a system of symbols from the sentence itself, by means of which a social group cooperates. Meaning to say, all of the people within the society cannot flourish without such language. Because in language and society, language is the common denominator of a culture, of one's culture. Because one's culture has a language. Atong kultura sa Pilipinas, nag-entail ng Filipino language or English language. Or maybe even those specific dialects. Sa Bisaya, Ilocano, Cebuano, Surigao-non, Siargao-non, other types of languages that are uniquely existing on those specific parts. Right? Dili pod mahitabo ang cooperation. I mean, it's not very possible for us to achieve cooperation without the existence and the use of language. And I think it's very common, sa inyo that even if you ask your classmate what is the assignment, last meeting, you are using already language. Okay? You are already using the kind of language nga imong komportable gyud ka. Yes, you can yung makaagi makadiri Makaagi ka dire Pwede ka. Dire lang ko daan kaya para masunod ko niya. And you... Okay. Sa sunod, dito na ka moingkod kaya para dito ma-disturb. Sige, nakuha si Uncle Bernard and si Uncle George?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Let's proceed. According to Charles Fries, language is speech. Pakibasa? Speech is language. The written record is but a secondary, meaning to say that language is best represented or is best identified through a vocal representation. Meaning to say, in other words, one can identify and know a specific language through speech. Secondary lang daw ang sinulat nato. It's only the graphic representation of our thoughts and our feelings and anything nga atong gusto i-express. Let's have an example to be specific. Now, a practical example. When I ask someone, for example, I ask you of your name. What's your name? Yes, Tricia. Nisulti siya og Tricia. Na-notice ninyo? She's using the language through speaking. Wala siya magsulat sa ilang ngalan. Di ba? Meaning to say, and that goes to show nga ang language is primarily vocal, which will be discussed further in the characteristics of language. And Charles Price is very agreeable enough, no? Because he has this idea na language is speech. Language is speech and can be best identified and recognized through speech. When you ask someone his name or her name, automatically, musulti ng tawhana. Okay? And dili na magsulat pa sa ngalan sa 1/8 or sa 1/4 or sa piece of paper, no? That's one example of showing the practicality of this idea. Okay? Language is speech and speech is language. Even before sa first period of literature, no? Even sa oral traditions ng mga Greeks and Romans, even before nga wala pa mag-exist ang writing system sa Sumeria, no? The very first civilization, nag-exist na ang oral traditions in which nga naay nag-exist na mga stories which have been passed down from generations to generations. That is why until eventually nasulat siya and it was recorded. So according to Charles Price, language, or the written record of language, is but a secondary or graphic representation of the language. When you try to preserve your idea, you try to write, di ba? You try to write an essay. But first, when you try to write an essay, thoughts and information have been crumbled first in your mind before ka makasulat. Maybe even magsulti pa ka para di ka makalimot, no? You can't even forget what you say. And another example of this, no, is, for example, there's an event going on here in Namco, and there's this guest speaker, for example, and the background goes to show nga grabe gyud niya ka knowledgeable sa English language or sa English major gyud siya ang background, no? Please welcome Juan de la Cruz of Turba University. Okay? And the background is he's introduced with this background, English major, no, Masters of Arts in English Language, Doctor of English Linguistics, for example, and by the time that that person speaks, incorrect the ang grammar, no, and that goes to show our immediate response and reaction, no, because we cannot fully identify and automatically identify one's knowledge about a certain language by writing. Diba? Although we can for some reasons, but we can identify the knowledge of that person, of that the speaking unsa pa ni? Competence of that person through speech. That is why language is speech. Agree?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Next one. Pakibasa, palihog.
Meaning does not reside in the words
Per se. But in the context of the situation. Okay? Meaning does not reside in the words per se, but in the context of the situation. By the way, when you encounter this type of word, no, per se means itself or themselves, depending on the construction, I mean, if it is plural or if it is singular. But this time, ang kasunod is plural, you should read it as themselves. Diba? Kay plural man. Meaning does not reside in the words themselves. Pero pag muna ako na meaning does not reside in the word itself. Okay, depende if plural or singular. Sabtan.
Yes, sir.
Per se, but in the context of the situation. It's very true because what we say don't represent really what we mean. Diba? And sometimes we use indirect language to hide our message and to hide the thought of what we are saying. For example, if you have this sige, I will narrate my story na lang, no? I'm gonna walk you to the memory lane of what happened in my college first year experience. specific experience na ako ni in my first year. And we have this one irregular classmate na his breath really stinks. Okay, his breath really stinks and we cannot tell that person kay ma-offend. Di ba? Ma-offend siya and we won't let that happen. Of course, we don't want to offend. No? An ako friend, nag-ingkod mi sa likod, no? Ako, and then my friend here, and then that person nga, bahog yung ba. Okay? Bahog yung ba, and maski in distance lang mo, he is socially distant, but you can still smell his breath. Nga nakalala. Yes, this is a true story. Okay? I, my friend, and that person, naglingkod. Okay? Naminaw mi sa discussion. And then, suddenly, wala na kaantos ang akong tapad. Wala na siya kaantos. And then, the words there, giingnan yun niya, but not directly. Giingnan yun niya nga, wala kay lingaw? Pwede man ta mag-toothbrush? Wala kay lingaw? Pwede man ta mag-toothbrush? Yes, those were the words. It really still marks, no, in my head because I cannot remember that situation. I cannot forget again. Sorry, I cannot forget that situation because it's very ridiculous, no? In the sense nga wala gyapon makagets ang iyang giingnan kay nikatawa na noon. Murag nagpabuang-buang na siguro to or maybe nakuha na niya ang meaning, no, ato. But giingnan po sa friend nga, sa akong friend nga, wala kay ningaw, pwede mo ta manut brush dungan ta. Ana. And then nikatawa siya not because of the thought, but because of the absurd nga panghagad sa akong friend, nga ano manut brush mo nagklase man ta. Di ba? But there is a hidden meaning between those words or among those words being spoken to. Okay? Meaning to say, meaning does not reside in the words themselves. There is a hidden meaning, mao to ang pasabot nga mahog yun kag ba, but again, the speaker did not speak directly in order for that person not to be offended. Okay? Sometimes it is true when we have this kachat, no? Kinsay na ang mga ka-talking stage din na mga ka-chat every midnight. Mao nang dili na makatapos sa assignment. Wala. Oh, char, mga focused sa study, no? Very focused individuals. Na mga English major, good. That's good to know. But if you have this kachat, no? Now, if you have this chatmate and ang imong kachat ni ingon nga kaboring pud oy period. Kaboring pud oy period. Maybe that person is experiencing boredom at the moment, or could it be nga boring yun ka kachat? Sakto. But the person speaking or the speaker himself or herself did not directly say the words. No, wala siya niingon nga kaboring nimo kachat. But there is a hidden meaning behind that. Nakuha. Na not every word that we say means something. But there is a hidden meaning between the words. We have to find the context of the words being spoken. Sabtan. Nagpamatuod nga ang meaning dili dependent sa words themselves but in the context of the situation. Kanagong mangyaw-yaw imong mama, magyaw-yaw imong mama kay ano daw, kay it is very kanat gyud kaayo sa inyong balay, no? Unsa man ako mga sakop, wa naman ni function ni diri sa balay, no? Tan-awang lababo, bla 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 bla, bla. Wala nay panilhig, wala nay something sa balay. Nag-mention og ngalan na imong mama, wala. But it means nga manghinlo mo. Diba? Your mom did not use the direct words na panghinlo kamo tarpulano ang tarpulana, but the meaning is hidden or there's a hidden meaning among the words that are being said. Sabtan si Bronislaw Malinowski. Sabtan si Uncle? Okay, very good. Now we move forward to the characteristics of language. The characteristics of language goes like this. We begin first with arbitrary. Familiar ang word? Arbitrary. Meaning to say, I give you an example na lang para mas madali masabtan yun, no? For example, walay, in the history, no? This concerns to the names of things. Okay? This concerns to everything that is named sa history. Walay nakahibalo, no one knows why this thing in Bisaya is called bangko. No one knows. And don't get me wrong, there are those words that have etymological meaning, diba? Especially the Greek words and some of the, or most of the American words or English words, na siya'y mga etymological meaning or origin nga tagikanan, because English language is just a very big Creole of decomposed pigeons, no? However, we cannot know or we cannot really identify why ang Ingkoranan is Ingkoranan sa Surigao nun and sa ibang languages sa Bisaya, bangko or Lingkoranan, no? And there are variants of those words nga wala takabalo asa nagikan. It just goes to show nga before, some people before or most of the groups of people before have agreed nga tawagon siya bangko. Okay, ma-discuss na siya further, ma-understood siya further if we touch the next one, the productive and creative. But again, arbitrary means haphazard or it's not really logical if we try to understand the beginnings or the origins of a certain thing. Nganong gitawag man siyang cellphone, although naa siya etymological meaning, because someone coined it before, but some of the things that are existing here, wala takabalo nganong nag-exist na ang pangalan. Okay? We do not know exactly why those names exist at all. And it is because language is arbitrary. Random ang iyang pagsulpot sa name. Random ang pag-coin sa name ng something. That is why, uman chinelas may tawag sa Bisaya. Sanan sa Tagalog, chinelas gihapon. Why is it? Why is that? No? If you wonder, nganong sa Bisaya kay ang langgam kay kanang mulupad man. And sa Tagalog kay ang langgam kay mamanga man kanang gagmay nga mamang. 'Di ba? There are differences in language because historically speaking, language is what? Arbitrary. Second thing, another characteristic of language. Kinsay naay anak? Naay anak? Naay pagumangkon. Also, myself, I have many nieces and nephews. Dagan yun kaayo, mga almost 20 na sila kabok. And then, yes, I have many siblings. Dagan kayo kung pag-umangkon, and then na-notice ninyo ang mga bata, especially toddlers, especially 2 to 3-year-old children, na maghimo-himo sila istorya. Magmugna-mugna sila istorya, no? They tend to creatively produce a language that are seemingly unintelligible, ligid siya masabtan. No, magmugna-mugna lang sila istorya and wala ta kasabot. And it is explaining the second characteristic of language, that language is productive and creative. In 2016, if you didn't notice, in 2016, the word pansit has been added to the Oxford Dictionary. The word pansit. Ngano man naad ba sa dictionary? Because the nature of language and the very essence of the usage of language is ma-add siya as a lexicon or a word into the dictionary if majority or many people are using that word. Gamit kayo siya every birthday. Di ba? Di siya mawala. No? Usahay, makalimot mo taghatag sa silingan, nakapanos na dito. Agree? No? Ang pansit, it's very common. We use that word here in the Philippines. Maskin mabisaya pa kao or matagalog pa kao, pansit is very known. Pansit word. But, sa sige na to gamit, na-notice ng mga linguists, no, and lexicographers, and they've decided, especially the Oxford Dictionary, they've decided to add it on the Oxford Dictionary. Why? Because people are using it. That's the basis. Kanang sana all na to karon, no, wala man na nag-exist sa dictionary. Nag-exist ba? Wala. Wala no. But many Filipinos are using it. Maybe even other Americans are using it. Sa mga na-influensyahan nato, no? Nagamit na sila og sana all. It is combined of the word sana and all sa English. Sana is Tagalog and all is English, no? Wala siya nag-combine. Wala siya nag-exist if you combine it. But when you try to break down the words, nag-exist ang sana og all. Okay? But ang sana all gyud nga word wala. Okay, but it creates meaning sa ato no, it has a meaning for us, and therefore by using the types of words, no, those types of words, we can produce another set of word or another set of language. And language dili siya kung stagnant. Dili siya stagnant. Meaning to say it is creative and progressive and productive enough. Because language develops over time, and it develops and nagkadaghan ang word na notice ninyo because of those people using it. Nakuha? Okay. Third one is, discuss na nato, no? Language is primarily vocal. Now, language is primarily vocal because, again, makita yun nato or magamit yun nato ang language. We can use language immediately, no, without any hassle, and we can use it efficiently and effectively also through speaking. At least majority of people use it so and prefer it by using speech or picking the right expression such as speech or speaking or vocal, through vocal. The fourth one is that I've discussed this already also, nga language is social, right? It helps us socialize to other people, and it concurs to the idea nga, or to the mantra nga, no man is an island. No, familiar? No man is an island. That's why to socialize, we need language. Pag mag-ask ka ng assignment sa mong classmate, you need language. You most definitely use language, if I'm not mistaken. Diba? Even if nag-sign language ka mo sa video call, you're still using language. Because that's still part of language. And that enables you to socialize to another human being. We can even socialize to another form of animal, sa mga iro. Diba? Yes, we use language by training the dogs. Diba? We use language to be understood. But if one is using language to speak to you and you cannot understand anything, go to the nearest hospital immediately. Kung wala na kayo nasabtan, have yourself be consulted to a psychiatrist. Okay? That's the social part of language or social characteristic of language. The substance is social.
Yes, sir.
Next one is symbolic. It's also similar to the things I've said. No? The language has a symbol or has a hidden meaning aside from those spoken words. Do not understand or comprehend every word within a sentence or paragraph or within a composition, because sometimes figurative languages exist, di ba? Not literal expression of something, but those hidden meanings still can be expressed without expressing direct words or using direct words. Nasabtan ko ninyo, class? Okay. Nagkasinabot na sa atong topic karon? Okay, very good. And last one is systematic. You cannot just say that you is beautiful. Diba? You cannot say that because why? Bumagting atong talinga because of the reason that it is incorrect. No, you is beautiful. Dili nga na. Dapat you are beautiful. because we have linguistic features or the grammatical rules that we have to follow. Okay? As English majors, we are required, if not all the time, no, to use the correct grammar of English. If ang imong friend ungrammatical kayong sulti, no, kailangan nating punahin because that's our job. We have the knowledge, we should apply what we know, which relates to the last one, the systematic, and also linguistics is there to answer such questions, no? What is language and how useful language is, and many types of linguistic questions. If sa mga doktor, let's say simba ko palayo, no? One of us here got admitted to the hospital, no? Because of a certain disease or condition na atay mga gipangbati, simba ko palayo, we consult doctor. Correct? We consult the doctor because mao na pinaka-expert sa ilang field, sa medical field. But when there is an incorrect thing going on in language, we refer to linguists or to the experts of language. We refer linguists because those are the ones that are studying or that are experts in linguistics. Mga grammarian, no? If we try to know history, we refer to historian. If we try to solve a mathematical problem, we refer to mathematicians. And there are a lot of other disciplines na mabilong if you try to use it in an appropriate way. But we are concerning language. This is what we do, right? This is what we do, English majors. We have to be very effective in communicating and we need to use correct grammar. Okay? Most of the time, if not all the time. Macrolinguistics, last na yun ni, dali ra ni. Sociolinguistics deals with the study of, from the word itself, sociolinguistic, or the language that are existing within the society. In this city alone, natay Badjao language, no? Natay language sa Muslims. In this archipelago alone sa Philippines, in this archipelago alone, natay mga existing languages na wala ta kabalo. Okay? And sociolinguistics is the field of study that is present para mahibaw-an nato ang mga differences and discrepancies of those languages. That's sociolinguistics. And if we try to understand the language of the doctors, no? Speaking about registers and jargons, if we try to understand the language of teachers, ngano ang negative na word, no? Ang negative paminaw, if we try to understand other languages, nganong ang negative nga word sa mathematics is different from sa negative na word sa medical term. Diba? Lain-lain siya, nag-entail siya og lain-lain nga meaning. Okay? Sociolinguistics ang tawag dyan if you try to study those types of languages. Okay? Especially, you try to obtain the differences and to know and understand those differences. Historical linguistics, very simple, deals only with language families or why language is like this today, why English language developed like this today, and it usually refers to the origin of language. Unsa gyud ang language when it was unsa gyud ang English language back in the Old English period to the Middle English period, no? To the modern English period, and is language today really the language before, no? Those types of questions mabilong siya sa historical linguistics because it studies the development of language over time. Sabdan. Okay? Ethnolinguistics, this is the very specific field of study that belongs to sociolinguistics. Because from the word itself, ethno is dealing with the ethnic groups or ethnic languages na nag-exist sa society. Okay? Na tayo mga lingwahe sa Igorots, sa Mamanwa, no? Sa mga other tribes that are existing here, especially in Mindanao and Visayas and Luzon, no? Sa Philippines in general, na tayo mga existing languages that we need to be discussing and we need to appreciate and basically grasp as English majors. Okay? That's ethno-linguistics. Psycholinguistics, from the word itself, it deals with the mind. Okay? Psycholinguistics deals with how language is processed through the mind of a human person. Okay? We need to understand why letter K is different from letter C. Pero pag gamito na nato sila, nganong parehas naman silang sound ka, manggihapon, no? We need to identify those, and the process going on is identified as psycholinguistics. Next one is the computational linguistics, the way that we mathematically compute the sentences, the words, the phrases. If naglikay mo sa mathematics, maunang reason nga nung nag-English major mo, you are not in the right place because there's still mathematics sa linguistics. Yes, na ay mathematics because we will be computing the arrangement of the phrases, clauses, and sentences if it is arranged or if it is correctly aligned to the very thing that we try to mean or we try to say. Compute. We try to compute the language. Okay, technicalities of language, mabilong siya sa computational linguistics. Applied linguistics, from the word itself, of course, apply. We try to apply what we learn to the real world. Because what we learn, everything that we learn, if not applied, will be considered as useless. Sakto? So we try to apply when we hear an incorrect, no? When we try to correct someone, please also use your knowledge in language so that we can utilize language very well. Sabtan. Questions? Wala? Confusions about the topic? Since we are out of time, I guess if you don't have any questions, this will be the wrap up for all of the things we will be discussing or we discussed sa lesson 1. And if you don't have any concerns, we should go now. Okay? You can go, and thank you for listening. Did you learn something tonight?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. That's the most important part. You can go now, and please take care of yourself. Goodbye.
Yes, sir.